Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's March 16th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by Life Wallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, let me begin today with a story that we have on the website on offensive line coach Alex Mirabal. And without question, this guy is one of the more interesting assistant coaches that Miami's had in a very long time for so many different reasons. Obviously, it starts with the fact that he's a shorter, skinny guy that is coaching mammoth offensive linemen. That's unique in its own right. Then you factor in the lifelong friend of head coach Mario Cristobal, the relationship that they have. That makes him even more captivating. And then you start getting to the work he actually does with the kids on the field. And he's considered one of the better technicians in college football, coaching offensive linemen. Obviously, he's honed his craft alongside Mario, who was an offensive line coach at Alabama and certainly developed quite a reputation of his own for coaching offensive linemen. So you put it all together, you got a pretty interesting cat in Alex Mirabal. And yesterday morning, you got to spend some extended time speaking to him, watching him make a presentation to a group, and got to really know Alex much better. Your perception after spending those moments with him?
Yeah, well, I was misled. You know, Gary told me go to Casa Cuba. They have a free breakfast for you, and just show up at like 7:30 a.m.
Well, it was a 7:30 in the morning assignment. Like, who the hell has to go someplace at 7:30 in the morning? I had to throw something in there to get you to do that.
Listen, I didn't go for the free breakfast. I went to see Alex Mirabal. It was a hero's welcome. This guy's an offensive line coach. No one's supposed to know who he is. Like, I walk in at 7:30 when it starts. First of all, I called the guy who runs the whole thing the day before, just to check, like, what's the situation? You know, like, when does it start? Blah, blah, blah. He says, oh, everyone shows up like around 7:30, 7:45. Alex will get up on the stage and give a little speech from like 8:15 to 8:30. And by 8:50, everyone's gone. That's what he says to me, okay? I show up right on the dot at 7:30 when this is supposed to be early, according to this guy, who's done this, by the way, a million times. Grant Miller, everyone knows Grant Miller. So he's done this a million times. He runs the community newspapers, does a great job, super great guy. I taught his son in a high school class once for sports journalism. Blake Miller, by the way, is his name. So shout out to Blake. Hope he's doing well. He's not a sports journalist. I guess I failed. I'm sorry, Blake. I think he's in business now. But anyway, back to the point. So get there on the dot at 7:30, and it's like I'm the last one in the door. It was like a hero's welcome for this guy. He's mugging for photos for way longer than he was supposed to get up on stage for, okay? It was like a line past the bar. For those of you who know Casa Cuba, it was like winding around the bar, the amount of people want to take pictures with the guy. You could barely, he's 5'5". You could barely even see him over the heads of the 5'7" people who are waiting to take their pictures with him. And he's hugging everybody, and everyone's all excited. And they ate all of my eggs. I didn't get any eggs. That was the most disappointing part of the day. But eventually, after all the adulation, I think he's going to get up on stage. So, I got my tape recorder ready. I'm ready to go. They start wheeling out the politicians, like praising Alex Mirabal and Columbus this, Columbus that. Oh my gosh, the greatest teacher of all time. He coached me. One guy was tearing up. He coached me, and I'll never forget. He taught me life lessons, and I don't. Then they say that some person gets up there. As a good reporter, I probably should know who these people are. I don't know. They were just local politicians. Whatever, man. I was there for Alex Mirabal, okay? I wasn't there for the politics. Some lady gets up there and she's like, today is now known as, by proclamation of the village of Palmetto Bay, Alex Mirabal Day! And everyone's like, oh my God, it's Alex Mirabal Day! And I'm like, does that mean I get free eggs? Like, is that what Alex Mirabal Day is? Because I thought I was getting free eggs on Alex Mirabal Day, and there was no eggs for Matt Shodell on Alex Mirabal Day. I was very upset. Alex Mirabal, your day needs to be a little better. Free breakfast, like I was promised in the future, okay? Then someone else gets up there, and they're like, Alex, where are you? Where are you? And he's still being mobbed by people. And they're like, look what we got for you. And then like, it looks like almost from behind the risers, they held up this giant, like framed, oversized. Like, you remember the jersey that Mario Cristobal got, the little tiny jersey? Alex Mirabal must have been 6'10" when he was in high school, because they hand him this framed replica number 65 Columbus jersey that's the size of my house. And he's supposed to somehow hold this and take a picture, and that wasn't happening. So some bigger guy got up and held it one side while he held the other side, and they got a picture like that. And I mean, the whole thing was like a little off the off the deep end to me. But and then he gives an amazing speech, talking, and he's talking. After half an hour, they're like, "Listen, people need to get to work," and Alex Mirabal's like, "No one needs to get to work. I'll answer everybody's questions forever." He's like, "I told my wife I'll be home at 2 p.m." And it went from there. It was quite the entertainment, and taped the whole thing. I went through my 8 hours of tape. And then I got him for a few minutes. I got him for a few minutes afterwards. The poor guy should have been exhausted. I mean, he must have shaken hands with, there was, I think, 200 people there. Must have shaken hands with everybody, talked to everybody. It seems like everybody's his best friend. I have like 2 friends. This guy has just 200 that just showed up and skipped work, apparently, to go say hello to him. So, he's more popular than I am. The only thing I got on him is he's shorter than me. That's all I got on him. But great guy, great interview, great speaker. Read the story. Read the story.
Yeah, well,
I can't say anything else other than read the story at this point.
I was going to say, from all of that came a very good story. And if you want to get to know Alex Mirabal a little bit, hear what makes him tick, hear a lot about his relationship with Mario and what he thinks makes Mario go and all that. Make sure you read that story that's on the website today. It's a really good one, and I think you'll be happy that you did. Now, so while Matt's hanging out with Alex Mirabal, I'm getting up with Coach Jim Larranaga, and we spent some time yesterday morning talking a little bit about the season and looking ahead to the trip to Greenville for March Madness. And Coach L is such a great guy and such a pleasure to interview. And Matt, I thought that you could just tell that he has really been reinvigorated by this experience this year. It was a rough couple years leading up to this. He's getting older. People are wondering, can he still do it? Can he still recruit? And he ends up putting together a pretty darn good basketball team this year. And you could just feel the energy from him, the excitement, how the way this team has played this year, and the fact that they're in this tournament starting on Friday has been like a fountain of youth for him.
Listen, you guys who watch this every day know I argued against giving him an extension, but that is separate from me talking about Jim Larranaga the person. Jim Larranaga the person is one of the most amazing people and coaches you'll ever meet. I mean, he does this for the good of the kids, for the good of the community. I mean, there's not a bad bone in this guy's body. And let me tell you, I've met a lot of coaches with a lot of bad bones, okay? Jim Larranaga is not one of them. I mean, years ago, when he first got here, but maybe after a year or two of him being here, I'm just sitting at dinner with my wife and kids it used to be Shula's, whatever. I can't remember how many games did Shula win? 247 or 347? 347, right? I don't know. However many wins a game.
The restaurant is Shula's 247.
247, okay. I give him an extra 100 wins. Congratulations, Coach Shula. So anyway, I'm sitting there and, we're eating dinner. And then all of a sudden, I feel a tap on my shoulder. I look up and there's Jim Larranaga. He says, "Hey, Matt," and for those of you that cover sports, I mean, if it's a year or two in and, the coaches sort of have to meet a lot of different people and get to know them. And I'd only talked to him a few times, not that many times. So, I mean, obviously he has this knack for being a people person. He knows people. He says hi to my kids, says hi to my wife, talks for a few minutes with us. That's just the kind of guy he is. He's an everyman. And he's a great coach. He's a great coach. He does more with less than anybody else. The criticism of him would be, if you want a criticism, the North Carolinas and Dukes get all the 5-star and 4-star kids, and he makes do with 4-star, a 5-star here and there, 4 stars and 3 stars or international kids, transfers, but he beats Duke and North Carolina with them. So, what does that tell you? And for Miami basketball fans who want to win a national championship, maybe he's not your guy, but I'm not sure anybody's your guy. I'm not sure Miami is a program that can win national championships right now. It just is what it is. I'm not sure how you get there if you're the University of Miami. There's certainly is a path. But
I'll tell you.
I don't know that it's only on the coach to do that. I think there's a lot more infrastructure has to be built and a lot more pipelines to the program from different high schools and things like that.
This year they needed one more player, Matt. One more player.
That's not true.
Oh, I disagree.
One big man. If they had
big man, if they had gotten Jalen Duran, if they had Jalen Duran as their starting center this year, with maybe Sam Wardenberg at the 4, and then or Sam Wardenberg as the 6th man with the 3 guards they had, and I mean they could have contended with anybody, in my opinion. I mean, look how they played against Duke, which is a 2 seed in the tournament. I mean,
well, Duke's problem is Duke plays like individuals, And let me tell you, there's something to be said. Like, you could say, oh, give Miami all these 5 stars, like whatever. Jim Larranaga recruits kids that want to be on a team, that want to play together. And you could see when he basically jettisoned Chris Likes and some of these other guys, that he signed a 4-star, Matt Cross, jettisoned him mid-season because, he wants team guys who put the team first and aren't trying to get to the NBA by themselves. He doesn't want a human highlight reel. And you say, bring this guy in, bring that guy in, but you don't know their personalities, Gary. You don't know how they fit in the locker room. Like, great players. But Duke has great players, and they don't look so good. I've watched their last 3 games. They don't look so good. So Jim Larranaga recruits guys.
Is that a tip for everybody's brackets?
What's that?
A tip for everybody's brackets.
I have them losing the second round, so whatever, man.
To lose in the second round, yeah. I think
I'm done with my thought. You can continue, good sir.
I kind of cut you off, so I was, but
I was wrapping up.
All right. So anyway, we have the story with Jim Larranaga on the website this morning. I encourage everybody to watch that. I think you'll enjoy that interview. It was Coach L at his best. All right. Some other stuff on the website this morning. We checked in with Chris Graves, the recruit who'll be checking in this summer, and he's working very hard. Matt, he wants an immediate role on this football team when he gets here. Can he get it?
Well, with Darryl Porter coming in, not so much. I thought he would. Of the freshmen they signed, the defensive backs, I thought he was most likely to have a role in year 1 as probably as a nickel. But now they're moving Gil Frierson and who's the other kid? They moved someone else to nickel. So it's not quite as cut and dry that a guy like Chris Graves can come in and have any sort of a big role, other than maybe marginally on the back end of the 2 deep or something. But certainly on special teams he can help. And the other thing is he's not here. He's not here. If he was here, I'd feel better about it. And again, you sort of have to lay eyes on these guys and sort of see what they look like, because he's got good height. I think they have him at 6'2" or something like that, and he's got enough size. But you got to see, can he stick with Miami's receivers? Can he jam at the line? All the stuff that they need to do at the University of Miami that is probably a little bit easier to do in high school, So it's to be determined. But my guess now is no. My guess, but if you asked me before Darryl Porter, I would have said I think so. Now I think no.
All right, I think I agree with you on that. We also have a interview today that I did a couple days ago with 4-star defensive tackle John Walker. Very interesting recruit, a guy that I know the Miami Hurricanes like an awful lot, and he's a kid that I think everyone's going to like when they watch the interview. Says the right things, very likable kid, and I think there's a great chance that John Walker ends up in this signing class.
Everybody, Gary, I want you to once say, I don't know if he's going to come or not. I'd say it's 50-50. I just want you once to say that. Just once.
I'll tell you. I'll give you one.
Listen, I hope you're right. Everyone's coming. I hope you're right. Who's 50-50?
No. I'm going to give you one that I don't believe.
Perfect. I already know who it is.
Josh Connerly.
Oh, that's not what I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah. Josh Connerly, the 5-star offensive lineman from the West Coast, who's been tripping to Oregon and USC in the last month. I don't think that one's coming Miami's way.
All right, you redeemed yourself. You're not saying everyone's coming anymore. I apologize for my outburst. I was wrong.
He had said at one point that Miami was leading, but I'm going to wait a month. So I didn't like that wait a month. I don't think you liked it either. And I don't think that he's going to end up coming. We'll see. But I'm not optimistic about that one. Does that balance it out? John Walker, I'm optimistic about. I think there's a very good chance that he ends up in this signing class. We also have a story today.
Listen, Gary, let me ask you something, okay? You talked to him. You did the interview.
Yeah.
He clearly said to you, you asked him, are you going to come back to Miami or whatever? Or are you going to visit Miami? And he said, well, so far I only know of 3 official visits I'm taking. And he named the 3. None of the 3 were Miami, which is why I would say 50-50 at best.
Because then I asked him, and then Miami later, and he said yes.
Yeah, but he didn't say officially. If you know you're going to go to Miami, you don't mention those 3, and then you say, oh, what about Miami? And he says, oh, yeah, Miami too. No. When you ask a kid, blah, 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 and he says 3 schools that aren't Miami, and you say, oh, well, what about Miami? And he says, oh, yeah, Miami too. To me, that's like 50-50 at best. That's just how I roll. We roll differently. That's all.
I'm going to be a shade more optimistic than that. We'll see.
I know. I'm the pessimist. I'm sorry. Hate to bring you down.
Someone's
got to bring you down.
Now I'm going to rattle you even further because we're going to hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I will be your shield in the fiercest battle. I'll defend you.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Cleveland Reed, and I play offensive line, and my job is to protect. I protect my family with Life Wallet. How about you?
Of course I got Life Wallet. It's the best way to protect my family.
Long as we go together, we'll die whenever. Be a light, couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never.
To protect you and your family, get Life Wallet now.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
I thought all we needed was booster shots these days to protect ourselves and our family. But we're going to include Life Wallet in there as well. All right. A couple other things that are on the website today. We have a story on a 4-star linebacker who really enjoyed his Miami visit. I'm not going to start predicting he's coming to Miami yet because I don't want to get mad.
Why not? Why not?
Shodell to get annoyed with me. But he is being compared by some people to a young Dan Morgan, wink, wink. He's Tackett Curtis from Many, Louisiana. Miami's big time on his case, and we'll just see what happens there. I'm not making any predictions on that one. And then also on the website today, we've got a look at point guard Charlie Moore for those that are emotionally invested in Miami basketball. We've got to look at point guard Charlie Moore. And while Cam McGusty has gotten a lot of the honors, Matt, this year and a lot of the accolades, quietly, Charlie Moore has been a very key player, I think. And so is Jordan Miller. But Charlie Moore, I'm not sure Miami makes a tournament run if they don't have him running the floor this year.
Yeah, well, I don't want to interrupt you, so I'm going to go back and just say, scrap the wink wink thing from now on. Let's agree. No more wink winks. We're done with the wink winks, okay? I'll also add of Tackett Curtis that I don't like getting Jaleel Florence, obviously, so I don't bother people. You guys know out there I don't bother people. So he took his visit on Friday. We called him a couple times Friday. I texted him again over the weekend. Hey, whatever. Never got back to him. I'm like, that's it. I'm not going to bother the guy. I don't want to be Jaleel Florence. So all of a sudden yesterday, the kid reaches out to me, which is really nice. What a nice kid, right? So, which reminded me of remember when Dan Morgan walked into the CaneSport offices, that young running back up in Broward County?
Yeah.
I remember that.
I do remember that.
I was there for that. He's like, I'm Dan Morgan. We're like, who? He's like, I'm going to be a Hurricane. We're like, okay. He looked like some little kid, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you another one from a couple of days ago. I did an interview with Jeremiah Marcelin that we'll have on the website here in the next few days at some point. And he texted me or messaged me afterwards to thank me for doing the interview and tell me how much he appreciated it. And that's a rarity. That doesn't happen very often as well. So if Jeremiah Marcelin...
he told me he sent that to the wrong number. That wasn't meant for you.
Listen, if that kid turns out to be half the player that Dan Morgan was, because I do think he's going to... Oh, shoot, here I go again. I do think he could end up at Miami if Miami wants him.
What? Breaking news!
Well, he definitely will be at Miami if Miami wants him. The only thing that could keep him off the commit list is he is a little small. He plays defensive end in high school, and he'll be a linebacker in college. But even with that, he's not a big frame kid right now. We'll see what happens. I'm not.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you're talking about Marcelin because you mentioned the Dan Morgan comparison. So you're talking about Marcelin. Just so everyone knows, not Tackett. Yeah.
No, I'm
okay.
talking about Marcelin. Yeah, I'm talking about Marcelin
If
from
you
Miami
mention Dan
Norland.
Morgan, people will be
And we'll
confused.
talk more about him in a few days.
Yeah.
We'll have the interview with him. But
No, I agree. I agree with you 100% on that. I do think he'll be a Hurricane if they want him. I agree. I concur.
yeah, it's just a question if they end up wanting him. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of liked what I saw when I watched him at camp. But he plays hard. He has a motor. Being a defensive end is helping him. But like I said, we'll talk more about him in a couple days.
And by the way, I almost forgot to add. Somebody asked a while back, and I totally slipped my mind. I didn't put it in the Alex Mirabal story, but somebody was asking about remember how the offensive tackles are working with the tight ends, and then they have the interior linemen separate during practice that we noticed that we had never seen that before. Remember we talked about that? Mm-hmm. And someone was asking which coach was with which group. So I actually asked Alex Mirabal yesterday, just to whoever that fan was. I don't know if it was on the YouTube questions or the message board, but if that person's watching, here's your answer. So Alex Mirabal said in those periods or that period of practice, depending how long they go with it, in the first time they did it, he was with the tackle tight ends. They had Cristobal with the guards, and they had Bain, the GA Bain, with the centers. So those are the three guys who are working with the three different groups. So apparently the centers are separate from the guards in that drill. They were on the very far side of the field. We couldn't really see. And they said the next practice, all the coaches switched and worked with the separate groups. So I don't understand that. I guess to give them different perspectives. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So it's genius. I wasn't sure if that was genius or idiot because, once you teach a kid something, you got to see if he did it the next day, right? And now that guy can't see if he did it or not, whatever you taught him. But,
Well, I'm sure they're going to manage.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for today, everybody. For Good Morning CaneSport, we thank you for joining us. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you tomorrow.